Kumusta ka Pilipinas? Ako sa Akaza. It is time to talk about once again the Dead Ends and the third and final album of Twisted Red Cross Records back in the 1980s Philippine punk rock scene, Dead Ends Damnation. On this channel, I've already reviewed Dead Ends Complaints, which was the very first Dead Ends album. It was the very first full-length underground punk rock album released by a band in the Philippines. Dead Ends are just historical the fucking way over. Like, that's just all there is to it. So, before we get into reviewing this album, which won't take long because this album is snappy, there's some special facts about the Dead Ends and Damnation. For one, Dead Ends were the only Philippine punk rock band to release more than one studio album on Twisted Red Cross. They got Complaints 85, Second Coming 86, and Damnation in 87. Not one, not two, but three full-length hardcore punk rock albums on Twisted Red Cross in the Philippines. Now, going beyond that, I've been conducting a lot of research over the past year, and I've been talking to people, the forums, just doing all sorts of research. And it occurs to me that Dead Ends perhaps were the only Filipino punk rock band to release more than one, not two, but three albums in the 1980s. That is fucking crazy. I've been doing so much research, the forums, just looking all over the place, talking to people from the scene, and it appears to me the Dead Ends were the only Filipino punk rock band to release not one, not two, but three albums. I don't want to say they were the only punk rock band to release more than one, but they were definitely the only Filipino punk rock band to release three albums in the 1980s Philippine punk rock scene. And I know what a lot of you might be saying. Philippine Violators in the Woods, man, they got more than one. Yes, I know that, but the Philippine Violators in the Woods, their next albums after their TLC releases came in the 1990s, which yes, Dead Ends also released their fourth and final album in the 90s called Mamatay Sa Ingay in 1995. It wasn't TLC though, it was just self-released. But it is absolutely phenomenal, this band. From Complaints, Second Coming, and Damnation, Mamatay Sa Ingay, an evolution of their overall sound. Complaint starts out with this classic punk rock vibe to it. It's a good classic punk rock album with some speed, hysteria, but it's classic sounding. It's not too raw, stripped down, because that's more Second Coming. It's harder, it's more stripped down, raw to the point, no bullshit. And then Damnation, where we're at now, this is more of a hardcore punk with metal licks and metal fusion in it. This is more solos, and it's just more of a punch in the fucking face. It's crossover into thrash, which Mamatay Sa Ingay, which we'll get to that one later, it continues down that path, only harder and harder and heavier, which we'll get to Mamatay Sa Ingay much later on. I wanted to talk about Damnation in this video because it is the third and the final Dead Ends album on Twisted Red Cross, which is what we are covering on this channel right now. And if you own this, which I do own this, I own this absolutely fantastic album. It is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 songs going at 21/22 minutes long. This album has 15 songs, 22 minutes. It is a speedy, hardcore, fast crossover thrash metal album. And no system, no system, no confusion. It starts out with that BAM! This album does not slow down. This album from front to back is a non-stop crossover hardcore thrash into the genre of metal. It's got the licks in there. It's got licks of metal. It is still more hardcore punk than Mamatay Sa Ingay, which has a lot of metal in it. But this one, you start to see bites and licks of metal in this album, which makes sense because Aldo Malanta told me in my interview with him that around this time and around Mamatay Sa Ingay, that's what they were listening to. Thrash, they were listening to metal, and you could definitely see the influence in there. But another little fun fact I wanted to throw out there, all four Dead Ends albums have something similar, something common that I kind of recently just noticed. They all four start with Aldo Malanta shouting something. Complaints starts out with Complaints! Second Coming starts out with We're Back! Damnation starts out with No System, no, and so forth. All four albums start out with Aldo Malanta shouting something. Hey, that dude's got fucking vocals. When Aldo Malanta shouts, everybody hears it. When he shouts in the Philippines, I hear it here in the United States. That's how loud he is. It's a true fact. I've heard it. I've stood outside, and I have heard Aldo Malanta shout across the globe. He's just a very prolific vocalist, and I can't wait to actually see throw his current band in person live in 2020. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. But as I said, and looking at the album artwork of Damnation, it's a pitch black background with red Damned Nation font at the top with the white dead ends at the bottom. It comes with the lyric sheet similar to Second Coming and so forth. And as I said, this is the third and the final Dead End album on Twisted Red Cross. Third and final. Dead Ends are very special. 85, 86, 87, three albums on the most legendary, most iconic record label in the Philippines. And honestly, I'd have to say one of the most iconic record labels in all of Southeast Asia, if not the world. I mean, I'd put Twisted Red Cross up there on the world stage as just being one of the most iconic, because them 17 cassette tapes from back in the 80s scene, they are so rare, they speak in volume, and you couldn't have the Philippine punk rock scene, especially without Damnation by the Dead Ends. The songs on this album are similar in nature to the songs on the Complaints and the songs on Second Coming. The Dead Ends keep their satirical, sarcastic sense of humor, their politically charged vibes, their social awareness. They keep their jabs at the system, at society, and they keep their jabs at Johnny music. Johnny loves hardcore. I love that song. No effects. You weren't the first. Yeah, Johnny loves hardcore. That's actually probably one of the slower songs. No, actually, the slowest song on this album is between Johnny Loves Hardcore and the self-titled song Damnation. Now, Damnation is actually my favorite song by the Dead Ends. Well, at least one of them. It's in the top 5. It's kind of hard to choose a favorite song by the Dead Ends because all of their songs are fucking fantastic. But I love Damnation because it's, you know how most punk rock bands are on the left and they jab at the right? Well, the Dead Ends Damnation, this album is what I want to call equal offender. And I don't mean that as in it's equally trying to piss off everybody. It's equal as in it's calling out all sides. The song Damnation in its entire album itself is calling out everyone everywhere across the board, saying, get your shit together. This album is like a code red, Damned Nation. It is in the title, it is on the album cover. It is a black album with red Damnation across the top of it. Damnation. The album honestly reviews itself. It speaks in volume to that degree. Everything from Fags and Mags, which is about I think game show hosts, Flush the Attitude, No System. My favorite line in Damnation in the song itself is just about how people want change. They want this, they want that, they keep blaming the government for this and that, You people want money, but you don't even work. You want the government to do right, yet look at yourselves. You elected them in. You want the government to do right, yet you yourselves are corrupt. Society must change as a whole in order to have a better world. And that is honestly the entire point of this album. It is just calling out everyone from all across the board. I could go into each one of these songs and dissect it, but that takes the fun out of it. But I just really, really, really wanted to give a quick little snap review over Dead End's Damnation because, like this snap review, this album is 22 minutes. It's very fast, very hardcore crossover into thrash metal. It's getting there. And it definitely builds up the foundation for the next in the series, Mamatay Sa Ingay, which we will get to that later. But anyway, I'm Anarka Akaza. Thank you so much for watching my review over Dead End's Damnation. And as I said, I'll repeat it one more time. Complaints is very classic punk rock with some hysteria vocals in it. Second Coming is more hardcore, stripped down to the point. And then Damnation is just taking what Second Coming did, only putting it full speed ahead and adding crossover into thrash metal. That's what that's doing, and it keeps going on from there. The Dead Ends, the evolution of the Dead End sound just keeps evolving, and getting harder and heavier over time. And that is absolutely fantastic. Al DeMolanta, Jay DeMolanta, rest in peace to him, and the multiple different other band members they've had over the years, from their first to their final album, they do a fantastic job of keeping up the pace, keeping it fresh, keeping it new, keeping it going, and just continuing to thrash forward. And who knows, if J.J. Malanta wouldn't have passed away in 1996, we'd probably have more Dead Ends albums at this point, and more than likely, the thrashing, the freshness, the power, the enhancement, the Dead Ends would probably be on a whole nother level at this point. Like, they'd probably be up there at the top. Because I just feel, because of the roller coaster that they were doing back in the 80s and the 90s, it would have just kept going higher and higher and higher. They're just such an iconic band. Just, yeah. I'm Anarka. Thank you so much for watching this video, and das vidania.